Experiment time. Today I'm going to be baking two sourdough breads. One where the salt is added with the autolyse, and the other where it's added after the starter has been mixed in. What are the differences? Hi, I'm Sune and I'm a food geek. Adding salt during autolyse seems to be a controversial topic. Almost every time I publish a video where I add salt during autolyse, somebody tells me that it's wrong and not technically an autolyse. But I'm a pragmatic person. For me it counts what you get out of it. The reason I started adding salt during autolyse is because it removes a step. Plus mixing salt and water into the dough later is usually annoyingly difficult. If you're new to this channel, I bake a lot of sourdough bread and I make delicious food from all over the world. My goal is to show you how to get the most out of every ingredient, and I want to teach you how to do that in simple and understandable steps. So join me by subscribing and ringing the bell so you won't miss any future videos. I'll be using the same formula for both breads. The only difference will be when I add the salt. The hydration of the loaves are 83%. The bread flour is wheat flour from Kornbymølle, and it has 20% whole grain rye, also from Kornbymølle. The salt is a whopping 2.3%, which for me makes a delicious loaf. Also, whatever effect the salt may have on the dough will be accentuated. Those were the words. This is the experiment.
First, I start out with the autolyse. In this bread, I'm mixing in the salt with all of the flour and all of the water. In this other bread, I'm only mixing in the flour and the water. I'm reserving 25 grams of water that I'll be using later when mixing in the salt. Then after about 1 hour's worth of autolyse, I mix in the starter. First the dough with the salted autolyse. It's pretty easy to mix in here. Then the dough with the regular autolyse. As you can tell, the dough is a bit more stiff and it's harder to mix in the starter because of the missing 25 grams of water. It's incredible what a little water can do. Then I let them rest covered for 30 minutes. For the dough with the salt in the autolyse, I start out bulk. I'm gonna do 3 sets of stretch and folds and I space them out by 30 minutes. For the regular autolyse dough, I mix in the reserved water with the salt dissolved in it. It's always hard to mix in water later, but I try to get it all dispersed. Then the second set of stretch and folds for the salted autolyse. And the first set for the regular autolyse. They then rest for 30 minutes. And then the third set of stretch and folds for the salted autolyse. Gluten development is looking good, so I move the dough to the bulking container and put the dough in the proofer. And then the second set for the regular autolyse. This dough rests for another 30 minutes. And then the third set of stretch and folds for the regular autolyse. This dough seems a lot less extensible than the one with the salted autolyse. Gluten looks great, so off to the proofer this dough goes. I leave both doughs to grow about 50%. The salted autolyse is finished first, so I pre-shape it. It's a bit sticky, so I had to put some water on my scraper. There we go. And then I final shape it. I lift it into the banneton, stitch it, put it in a bag, and off to the fridge. Then the regular-autolyse dough is ready. I pre-shape it. This is no less sticky, but having learned my lesson with the first dough, I wet the scraper before starting the shaping. This was easily shaped. I put it into the banneton and stitch it. And then off to the fridge. The dough will stay in there for about 8 hours, and then I'm ready to bake. First, the salted-autolyse dough. I flip it out. Add some rice flour for the look. I score it. And then I bake it. And here it comes out of the oven. Great oven spring and ear. Then I bake the other loaf. And this is how that looks out of the oven. That looks about the same. I let them both come down to room temperature before I cut into them. First, the one with the salt in the autolyse. Wonderful and well fermented crumb. Then the one with the regular autolyse. Also a great crumb. It looks quite similar. And then it's time to do the sniff and taste test. got a little confused about when to sniff and when to taste. Don't you hate when that happens?
So that didn't really make any difference whatsoever. The only difference was the extra step of mixing the salt and a slightly prolonged fermentation for the bread where the salt was mixed in later. The handling of the dough after having the salt mixed in was the same. The shaping felt the same, the dough had the same spring, and the smell and taste of the final loaves were completely the same. I guess I'm going to keep mixing in the salt with the autolyse. Why complicate things when you don't have to? I hope you learned something today. See you next time.